Good evening. You're in tune to the meeting of the inner circle, and this is Adama thanking you for being right where you are in this now moment of eternity. For those of you who are tuning into the meeting of the inner circle for the very first time, I welcome you and pray that you find the inspiration to meet me here every Thursday night, midnight to 3 a.m. and 3 to 6 until further notice. For those of you who are tuning via the World Wide Web at wrfg.org, thank you for caring to be with us than any other place on the planet. And for those of you who are using your radio apps with your phones, thank you for using the technology towards your greater good. And for those of you who are the inner circle, the ones who make sure that you're always attuned to this frequency at this appointed time, thank you so much for your consistency. And I pray that you are always receiving more inspiration to be ever more motivated, ever more disciplined, to reach deeper and to reach higher, to walk in the integrity of the all that you are as this living, loving, intelligent, potent, and immortal point of this absolute and supreme intelligence that is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. And that consciousness, if we held it as a collective, would be sufficient to put us in a place and space where no weapons formed against us should prosper. Not the corporate deities of death, not the planning and the plotting and the agendas of those who have it as their intention to continue this world-conquering rampage of divisiveness and depopulation and genocide. We're in a now moment of eternity that requires us to really have an understanding, and a resolute standing with that absolute and supreme intelligence that not only allows us to stand, but has the world spinning, is providing us absolutely everything with each and every beat of our heart, with every breath that we take, with every step that we make. And we should feel so absolutely blessed to be sharing and participating in this now moment where we have access to absolutely everything that we could possibly truly need in order to be completely cleared of any trespasses and violations, of any resentments and negativity, to be completely freed up through forgiveness and compassion, and really harmonizing our character with that which is virtuous and integritous as we are doing the cellular clearing, cleansing, purification, and renewal, so that we are regenerating, revitalizing, revivifying, being healed and made whole, so that the true spirits of the living gods and goddesses are completely re-enthroned in their temples. We have to realize that the same energy that robbed the pharaoh's tombs and the sacred grave sites of our indigenous and native and aboriginal families all over the world, that now they have created a way to rob the temples of God and Goddess of its treasures, of its value, of its riches, of its wealth, of its prosperity, of our mineralization, our integrity, our high ethic, our morality. And now we are having to exalt a full life's urge, a conscious intensity of intention, a full care to be realigned and reoriented and restored in the truth of who we are as these points of the presence of the absolute, or otherwise being the children of God, understanding that God is law, God is life, God is love, God is wisdom, God is truth, God is that which harmonizes us with the will of existence, the intelligence of existence, so that we are not a detriment to ourselves or anything or anybody else. And to be in a place where we understand that there is in truth only one self, that is the intelligence of existence that divinely designed us and in its own image, as one would say, but we have no clue as what the image of God or goddess is. And it truly isn't what we see in terms of those who are so conflicted in their commitment to living that they would rather be in a place where they are flirting with their own sickness, illness, disease, and death on a daily basis. To know that this is not God's will, that we are having such issues, that this is a part of the agenda that has been the programming and commercialization and psychological behavioral modification that is taking place as a result of the assault that is at the cellular level, because we have been ingesting in mass millions of tons of flesh of dead animals and aborted fetuses of chickens and quails and ostriches and all manners of things, of people who eat the eggs, the progeny of other beings, are a people who are misaligned. To know that there is no responsibility that we could really have when we feed off of the progeny of other ones. And to have a system that allows for the multi-million-dollar advertising campaigns to advertise to our children on Saturday morning cartoons and whatnot, so that they have a desire for that which undermines them at the cellular level, that they come to a point in place where they are being assaulted at the cellular level with the sugar and the artificial colors and the artificial flavors and the FD&C and all of this stuff that is creating so much of the childhood obesity and the cancer and the hypertension and the attention deficit disorders and all of this stuff that has us in a place where we are in and out of emergency rooms and hospitals and all of this. We have to come to a point in place where we understand that there is order in existence, and the law provides us with that, and our being lawful, loving the law, loving the order, consciously facilitating our consistent clearing, cleansing, and purification of our bodies, our hearts, our minds, and our spirits, gives us leverage over all of those things, that we do not have to be negatively impacted and affected by the vacancy of spiritual integrity that rests with so many ones who carry out corporate agendas that undermine the populace of the planet. But we want to be respected as intelligent people. But there is no intelligence that undermines itself, because there's literally only one intelligence, and the supremacy of absolute and intelligence rests with the exaltation of life and the respect and the reverence of oneness, because it's all there is. So in its divine wisdom, it is not going to allow or perpetuate the exaltation of itself to the detriment of other parts of itself. It is not going to command and demand and inspire and motivate groups of ones and ones to kill other groups and ones so that they have a greater glory. It's not possible. And when you have a people who are undermining themselves, when they are no longer exalting a full life's urge and they are a detriment to themselves, then there is no real purpose in their being, because there is absolute light that governs all of life itself. Absolute light that governs our restoration, our resurrection, and our reorientation in this life. And if we do not have a conscious intention towards it, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to miss the fullness of who you are, why you are, what you are, and not having done the work of cultivating the wealth of yourself, which is what you take with you when it come time to leave. And having been rightly oriented in your living, in the processes of self-actualization, self-realization, and harmonization with the will of existence, the laws of existence, the love of existence, and the harmony of the truths of existence, which is what love really is. Then at the end of the life, there's an end to the life, as opposed to just being a graduation from the class of earth residency. Because the earth herself is already suspended in the midst of eternity. We should not be dying at all. And to have agendas in place upon the planet that are socializing us, cultivating us, religiously training us, and signing off on our right to be wrong, our right to be mistaken, our right to be out of order, our right to be sinful, our right to die. It's a problem. And there are those who say, well, everybody dies. You have to die from something. And I'm saying, no, we should not be dying at all. We should be living. And to understand that the foundation of existence, the intelligence of existence, that which is causation, that which is the maintainer and sustainer of existence itself through all orders of being, throughout all realms, is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. Life is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. And there are those who would have you think that you can live your life killing yourself, and then when you die, you're going to go to a better place than where you already were in paradise, in the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence. There are those who would have you think that you have no duty, obligation, and responsibility to that which beats your heart and breathes you, that you can follow whatever you care to because you were given the free will to be mistaken, to be wrong. And I'm saying, no, the intelligence of existence gave you so much of itself, and it gave us law. And the law is order, and the law is cleanliness, and the law is love, and the law is fulfillment of our duties, obligation, and responsibility in being these living, loving, intelligent, potent, and immortal points of its own very presence directly. And the majority of the people are feeling as though man's way is mandate and God's way is optional. For there to be so many aspirants, so many spiritual teachers, so many churches and whatnot, for the majority of the people to be so sick. And for Sundays to be the day when so many churches reverence and worship that which they refer to as God and come together as church families and fellowship and whatnot. This constitutes the majority of people outside of the hospitals where you have so many sick people in these churches. The church has failed in its duty, obligation, and responsibility to provide the people the refuge. You understand? It's not good enough to just be in the word if you are not consciously caring to be in the laws. It's not good enough to just go to church on Sundays if you defile your body temple where you get to know God, you worship God, you are in a place and space where God has the opportunity to communicate directly with you. It's beating your heart and breathing you. So you are not able to get the fullness of its love, its light, its wisdom, or its truth if you defile your temple, though you go to church and you go to the mosque and you go to the synagogue. If you defile your body temple and your bloodstream, you are missing yourself. But they want you to feel entitled to poison yourself, entitled to feed off the flesh of desecrated and violated, poisoned animals, and turn your body temple where you are able to create the sanctity and the sacredness of your life and your experience as a spirit being that was gifted life and is maintained and sustained by that which is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal, that you would allow your body temple to become a habitation for all manners of worms and parasites and organisms and whatnot, because your temple has been converted into a cemetery for rotting carcasses. We are in a now moment that is requiring us to rise, and our resurrection requires us to be completely cleansed and purified, so that we as spirit beings in these bodies are being completely uplifted, renewed, rebirthed, regenerated, rejuvenated, revitalized, revivified, so that the true spirits of the living gods and goddesses are completely re-enthroned in our own temples. This is how we have leverage over systems of degradation and wickedness and inebriation, intoxication, violation, sickness, illness, disease, despair, and degradation. We are in a now moment where we are being told by the exalted spirit worlds that this is our time. To come into the light of the truth of ourselves. to be reinstated in the integrity of who we are as men, the progenitor of lineages, and wombed men, the perpetuator of lineages. Nobody has been authorized by the intelligence of existence, the will of existence, the laws of existence, or any god or goddess anywhere to be the legislators, the perpetuators of sickness, illness, disease, and death as a livelihood. It is totally antithetical to what the purpose in being is. And it's not good enough to just give up the meat. We have to be cleansed. And that cleansing has to be something that you care to do daily, just like you brush your teeth and you bathe the outside of your body. The inside of your body needs to be cleansed every day. And we have ones and ones who think that their whole responsibility in life is to get more information and more knowledge. But the information and the knowledge you can't convert into the living substance of that which is absolute truth and wisdom if you are not doing that which allows you to be remade and rebirthed in the image of the truth of who you are as the living God and Goddess that dwells in that temple. Being in the integrity of your right alignment and your righteousness, knowing the right way, being in a place where you're able to get that direct insight, intuition, that direct download of guidance, so that we're always in a place where we're growing, we're unfolding, we're perfecting ourselves, our ability to hear and to be obedient. But there are those who exalt their right to be wrong, who are exalting their right to teach you that which they think is light. But the light is the creator acting in its capacity as the light. And there is no sovereignty over the sickness, the illness, the darkness, the stupidity, the oblivion, the gloom, the deprivation, the degradation, and all of that without coming into a point and place where you are allowing the light of absolute and supreme intelligence to be firmly anchored within every atom and every cell of your being as a result of your intensity of intention and your consistent effort over time on a daily basis to be completely cleared, cleansed, purified, renewed, rebirthed, regenerated, rejuvenated, and you are actually facilitating that work at the cellular level, since the methodology of our oppression is to oppress us at our cellular functioning. Then the methodology of our liberation has to take place at the cellular level. This is how we come into the harmony of the whole of existence itself, by each one aligning itself with the intelligence of existence, each one of us caring, each one of us being mindful, conscious, conscientious, considerate, reflective, meditative, repentive. To be in a place where it matters to us that you don't just listen to me. You don't just think that you can hear me and listen and listen and listen and then not do the inner work. Because as the world is trying to influence you to feel entitled to be sick, that you will do everything to facilitate sickness, illness, and disease, and you've been doing this for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Your parents taught this to you, our grandparents, because this is what the schools taught us. And there was this whole movement towards our being educated. But within the educational systems, the United Dairy Council and the Beef Association and all of these ones decided that they would perpetuate their lies within the context of the schools. The schools lay the foundation for the dumbing down of the populace, putting us in a place where we can regurgitate the information. We don't have to eat well to be able to get good grades. We can be fed the flesh of dead animals, the aborted fetuses of chickens, the pus and mucus of cows, all manners of artificial colors, artificial flavors, sodas, Kool-Aid, and this and that, and still get scholarships to go to college. Really? still become professors, still get master's degrees and PhDs. We're in a now moment that requires us to understand that it is not the socialization and the culture that we must exalt. It is the light and the wisdom of being animated, designed by, enlivened, permeated, and penetrated by an absolute and supreme intelligence. And that the corporate deities of death, the meat, the dairy, the eggs, the chicken, the sea creature, the sugar, the tobacco, the alcohol industries, and whatnot, are misaligned in what their objectives should be. That there is no way that you can be the major stockholders and stakeholders in facilitating sickness, illness, disease, and death, and then go to church on Sunday and give thanks to God for how prosperous you are. Unless it's the God of death, not the God of life. And there is no God of death. It's just distortion, dysfunction, and wickedness. And those seeds that are sown in sickness, illness, and disease will end in death for those who are the legislators, the perpetuators, the partakers, and the profiteers, because there's no profiting. Because life is exacting, and the laws are exacting. And now we have the opportunity to really participate in our own healing through the clearing, the cleansing, and the purification. This is not what we can get from the hospitals. And as a result of ones who are in the hospitals, the doctors and nurses, the surgeons and whatnot, having their own heart attacks, strokes, high blood pressure, medications, and this and that, many of them are seeking the light. They are coming into the wisdom of the ages in terms of how to use the herbs and the water and the cleansing and whatnot for themselves. And then they are taking responsibility to share the truth. But understand that to have a populace, millions of people dying every year, getting sick, to have this as something that is so common now, that it is the agenda, that is the evidence of the genocide and the effort in depopulation. And the only leverage we shall have is when we no longer participate with it. To be in the mindset where we are having an understanding and an understanding that it is genocide, that we are being warred against as a populace of people. It affects absolutely everything and everybody. And now we have an understanding as to being caring, intensely intentional, in doing nothing to undermine ourselves. You understand? See, there are those ones who think that just the information, and I used to be vegan and I used to be vegetarian and I'm vegan, but but you're drinking and you're getting high and this and that. And I'm saying the issue for us is being restored in the fullness of the integrity of our vitality and the virtues of character that are consistent with who we are as being these points of this absolute and supreme intelligence. And the condition of our blood matters in terms of the quality of the spirit that comes, because it is the quality of the blood and the substance which is charged upon the blood that lays foundation for the quality of the thought, which lays foundation for the quality of our choices. And those choices being consistently chosen over time are going to shape your character as to how much harmony and peace and joy and truth and virtue and you have in integrity with the truth of yourself. Is this point of this absolute and supreme intelligence that is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. This is our truth. It is the truth of everyone. And nobody has been authorized to kill for pleasure, for sport, for gain, or for food. And to have systems based on killing. And every nation is competing in warfare and militarism is a problem. So we're in a place where we have not really seen the culture of light, cultures in light. We have to become it. For the sake of our children and our lineages, that our duty, obligation, and responsibility as men, the progenitor of lineages, and wombed men, the perpetuator of lineages, in our now moment of eternity, is to be consciously caring, to be completely righted after following those who are wrong, to be in a place where we're willing to do whatever it takes to circumvent some of the devastation that is coming as a result of participating with nations and races of people who have been condemned because they are murderers, liars, thieves, bastardizers, usurpers, and act as if the degradation of the people is not going to create more and more catastrophe. The earth is as big as the period at the end of a sentence in this universe, and the forces of life are much greater than anything that we've already witnessed or seen. We can't tolerate 40 days and 40 nights of rain. We can't hardly tolerate 14 days of heavy rain. But we're in a position, as a result of there being so much violation, so much distortion, so much dysfunction, to be completely rained out, burned up, have the earth shake, quiver, and quake, where all of these buildings that they keep building, all of these high rises, all these condominiums, all of this stuff can come tumbling down, creating so much devastation, where they have bulldozed all of these trees whose roots help to lay foundation for the integrity of the earth itself. We're in a now moment where we have to care, to be the light, to stand in the light, to be cleansed and cleared, so that we are renewed and rebirthed in the light of the truth of beings of absolute and supreme intelligence. So on behalf of the whole of existence, Mother Earth, Mother Nature, all of her creatures, and to the glory of the lineages that we each represent, in the restoration, the reorientation, and the resurrection of a fallen humanity and humankind. This is truly our time. You're in tune to the meeting of the inner circle, and this is Adama, your voice of resurrection and heraldess of the eternal.